Thank you very much, everybody, for that amazing applause. You can have a seat. You know, it's amazing. Beautiful day outside, this fantastic venue. All of you sitting there in those comfortable sofas, these green and blue sofas. I feel like I'm talking to my friends in my living room. Really, really fantastic. But please, don't get too comfortable. Because here's the thing. This morning I did a bit of research. And I looked at the agenda. And I saw that I'm sandwiched between how to use LLMs to scale, build value at scale, and how to use Google AI to supercharge your marketing. And I thought to myself, whew, this is going to be a tough crowd. I might not be the most popular guy in the room after this presentation. You see, I'm going to say something that might be tough to hear, but I'm going to do it anyway. AI is awesome, but it is not the solution to every problem in the world. Maybe let that sink in, just for a moment. I know it's difficult sometimes to hear tough news, but that's the situation. And you know, I feel a little bit like the guy that shows up at an iPhone launch with a flip phone, right? A little bit out of place, maybe a little bit outdated. But hey, here's what I've learned. Sometimes the unpopular opinion are the things that you should really listen to. So, all you AI evangelists out there, please put your swords and your pitchforks away. No need to sharpen them right now. Just give me 30 minutes, and you'll find out if I'm brave or crazy or just stupid. I don't know. You never know. You'll find out soon enough. So why do I say this? Well, it's because I work with tech founders all across the world, mostly in Europe, and I've noticed a worrying trend. And the trend is that founders are increasingly believing that they can replace the human elements of of sales with AI. Just last week, I was in Warsaw. I did a series of speeches there. And I met a guy named Alex. He, SaaS tool targeting mid-market retailers. Typical founder, likes bits and bytes more than clients and customers. And he doesn't want to deal with the messy part of selling, right? Like customer conversations and handling objections and all that stuff, right? That kind of difficult salesy things. And so he told me he built this amazing set of AI tools, right? He put together this stack, and he started pushing out personalized messages, emails, DMs, everything you can imagine. And he was hitting it. He was hitting his stride. He was cracking the code. He was getting 3 or 4 meetings every week with prospects. But then he had his initial conversations, and something strange happened. You see, he discovered that a majority of his prospects actually didn't have the urgency to solve the pain that he was solving. And even fewer of them had the budget to pay for a solution. And so he sent out a couple of, proposals, but he was kind of ghosted everywhere. And so what happens when you do this? I'm sure you founders have been there, right? When you put a lot of effort into something, your self-confidence starts dropping, right? You feel like you're wasting your time. And then your investors get antsy, and the whole thing turns into a bit of a mess. And he told me, he said, look, I'm sort of like a zombie right now, right? I know I'm alive, but I don't know what the path is. So, the AI hype is pretty overwhelming. I mean, just if you think about all the presentations you've heard about today, it's like that's all you hear about, right? It's in every boardroom. It's on your social media feeds. In this tech bubble that we all live in, that's all people talk about. So it's easy to understand why you might be led to believe that AI solves all of your problems. But here's the thing. What I've learned is that AI is really an accelerator. It's not a replacement. And for those founders who kind of fear and avoid sales, while they want to believe that one of those 400 tools that they've heard of in the last 2 years to help them sell and market, those are not going to really solve the fundamentals, because the fundamentals are still more important than the tools you use to apply them. If your sales strategy is broken, if you have a weak solution, marketed to the wrong audience, through the wrong channel, AI is not going to fix it. You're just going to fail faster. So I like to think of AI as a power drill. In the right hands, it's pretty awesome, right? Very efficient, very quick. But in the wrong hands, without the proper planning, all you're doing is making a lot of holes very quickly in the wrong place. And the question, of course, is posed, well, if not this, then what? Like, what it does work? Well, what works is understanding your customers' pain points deeply and matching that up with a solution that solves their problem. It means communicating your value clearly and succinctly and effectively, and in the process, building trust with your potential customer. See, these are the principles that have actually operated in sales for thousands of years, right? You can imagine, at one stage, a caveman discovered fire. He didn't go to his friends and say, hey, look at this light. Would you like to buy one? No, he said, you're cold, you're hungry, I got something that's going to keep you warm, and it's going to warm up your food. He problem solution and built trust. And the rest, as they say, is history. So what I'm going to try to do seems a bit impossible at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, but I'm going to try to get you to not look at your screens for the next 25 minutes. And I'm going to take you through a path to show you how to integrate AI smartly into your sales processes. First, I'm going to remind you why trust matters. Then I'm going to explain some sales fundamentals that algorithms cannot replace. And then finally, I'm going to show you how to use AI to accelerate the impact of your effectiveness. For those of you wondering who the heck I am, a brief introduction. I'm a B2B sales strategist. I work with tech founders, teaching them how to close high-ticket deals with enterprise customers using a blueprint I created called the Launch Code. The Launch Code is built on my 30 years in sales, 20 years in the corporate world, 10 years as an entrepreneur myself. And it captures the strategies, the mindset, the tactics that I've used personally to close over $2 billion worth of deals over the course of my career. I've worked with over 200 founders from 26 countries, teaching them the system, helping them implement it into their business. And I talk about sales and entrepreneurship generally on stages across Europe. But enough about me. So, here's the mistake that Alex made. And I told him this. See, he believed falsely that he can avoid building what is the fundamental DNA of any business contact, and that is trust, relationships. People don't do business with algorithms. They do business with people they know, like, and trust. I have yet to hear any decision maker tell their colleague, we went with these guys. Let me tell you, their email cadence, perfect. It is exactly what I needed to say yes to that offer. I haven't heard it. So the question is how does trust work? Well, there is certain characteristics of trust it's worth knowing. The first is that trust reduces risk. Now, every one of you, I'm sure, has been in a situation you bought something, right? There's an inherent uncertainty in making a purchase decision, right? Is the product going to be what I suggest it's going to be? Is that company going to be appropriate for me? Are they going to deliver what they're going to say they're going to deliver, right? There's all these questions that you have. And the way you reduce that sense of risk in your customers is you build trust. Now, the best way to build trust quickly is to find some commonality, some common ground with the people that you're doing business with. It could be as simple as a common relationship, an introduction, a customer that they've done business with, or it could be something as simple as you're from the same hometown, or you went to the same university, or whatever it is that gets you into their comfort zone. And if you get that right, magic happens. And I'll give you a very personal example. A couple of months ago, I decided that I wanted to become a professional speaker, working with corporations and events and the like. So I decided I was going to reach out to speaking agencies that represent, astronauts and football stars and business people like me to companies for speaking engagements. And I did a lot of research. I researched 12 agencies I thought would be a perfect fit. I wrote to every one of them. I wrote them again, and I wrote them again. Nothing. Literally nothing. I couldn't even get a response. And then it turns out that a friend of mine happened to know the assistant to the MD of one of these agencies I wanted to work with. And he was nice enough to connect us on LinkedIn. One day later, I got a response. They asked me to send over the materials that I'd sent 3 times earlier. And 3 days later, I had a meeting with the managing director, and in that 20-minute call, we agreed that they would represent me. Literally nothing changed. I was the same person with the same offer. The only difference is I came from a trusted source, and I became a value partner. The other characteristic about trust is that it builds over time, right? Trust isn't like one moment in time. It's something that is the result of accumulation of small steps you take that build to create long-term reputation and trust. So every LinkedIn post that you publish, every article that you write, every conversation you have with somebody in a setting like this, those are all building trust and creating an environment where people will understand the value you deliver and will want to have an engaging conversation with you. And finally, trust grows and deepens through human connection. We've all been there, I'm sure, where you start the sales process, you get into it a little bit more, and it gets more dynamic, right? More complicated. You have individual conversations, you have discussions, and what happens, right? People get involved. People have their fears, they have their questions, internal politics come into play, especially if you're selling high-ticket products or services. Like a lot of stuff happens. And you as a human being have to exhibit empathy, understanding, solutions focus. All the things that make us human are what ultimately become valuable in that environment. This is why it is so critical that through the sales process, you find an internal champion at wherever company that you're selling to. Why? Because they're going to be your voice and building trust while you're not in the room. And so that value is massive. A company I worked with out of Poland, they sell a high-ticket product to automotive manufacturers. Alexander, the founder, told me, if I can find an internal champion in the company I'm selling to, 9 times out of 10, I will close the deal. That's how important it is. Well, what happens with AI? Well, AI doesn't really build trust. It erodes it. The fact is, you can blast 10,000 of messages and DMs, but volume does not equal value, and automation does not equal relationships. How many here in the room have noticed a significant uptick in incoming emails and direct messages into their inbox? Just a show of hands in the last year and a half, right? It's overwhelming. It's literally overwhelming. So all your buyers are hearing is noise. They're not understanding nuance, right? And every once in a while, you'll get a personalized message, right? Hello, first name. I notice you too breathe oxygen. Let me tell you about my enterprise services program that will save 15% on your logistics costs. You know that no human being has ever seen that email, right? And the thing about AI, it can never really be your internal champion. Unless you can find a chatbot that whispers in the ear of the CFO, fortunately, it's not going to build trust. Only humans will. All right. So the question is, if not AI, then what? There are certain principles of selling that are eternal. They've existed since the dawn of time. No matter what industry you're in, what quality or value you're selling, they just are fundamental. And underpinning all those fundamentals is one important thought, one that I had to learn myself when I started out in sales. My first job in sales was selling advertising on Cartoon Network TV channel in Central and Eastern Europe. Who here learned English watching Cartoon Network as a child? I hate to tell you, I'm one of the people you have to thank for that. I actually launched Cartoon Network in Romania back in the mid-90s. Thank you. Thank you. The Flintstones, thank you. Bugs Bunny, thanks you. Dexter's Lab, thanks you. All of the cartoon characters that were on my business cards. One of the best jobs I ever had, by the way. Fantastic. Clients used to collect my business cards because I had different cartoon characters on the back. So I actually learned how to sell in that job. And the reason that was a challenge is because I didn't grow up in a kind of a household where that was valued, right? So both my parents were professors. They were academics. And so our dinner conversations were about politics and history and all that stuff. And they actually didn't really even trust salespeople. So listen to this. When a salesperson cold called my home, my mother would get on the phone, and the minute she realized they were trying to sell her something, she would put on a fake British accent and say, "Oh, I'm sorry, the Vardy family has moved to Europe. We won't be taking any calls in the near future." And she would put the phone down. And she would laugh and laugh and laugh. So that's the environment in which I started selling. So you can imagine it was a pretty, skewed view. Until one moment when my boss told me something that made it click. He said, Zoltan, selling is not about pushing something. It's about helping somebody solve an important problem. And who doesn't want help solving problems? And once that clicked in my mind, all of a sudden it became a very different conversation, right? Because I was there to help. And some people wanted my help, others didn't want my help. And if you're selling, let's say, to a B2B product or service, what are you doing for your customers? You're helping them increase their revenues. They're helping them save costs. You're helping them build efficiency. All sorts of valuable things. Now, the way you do that is you create an incredibly clear and focused offer and message that they must say yes to. And you do that by combining three things. The first thing that you do is you clarify your value. What problem do you solve? Who do you solve it for? And how do you solve it different or better than anyone else? Pick one problem to solve. And the moment you pick that one problem, lean into it, because that is what is going to give you the ability to gain traction quickly. If you try to solve too many problems at once, you're going to get lost in the noise. Decide who has that problem and has the urgency and has the budget to pay for your solution. Identify that one ideal customer. And if you focus on that one ideal customer, you are going to scale much quicker. There's a great saying, the man who chases two rabbits catches neither. Don't be a rabbit chaser. And finally, decide what makes your solution unique or different. It might be the efficiency, or it might be the speed, or it might be the process you use to deliver your solution. One of the companies I'm very proud to work with, actually, founder sitting in here in the audience, Andrei Dănescu from Dexery, their competitive advantage is the fact that they use autonomous robots to scan warehouses to collect data on behalf of their customers and help logistics managers manage their business more efficiently. They do it differently because a lot of other competitors, they use drones. That's their competitive advantage. That's what they lean into. That's what makes Dexery unique and successful. So if you want to build the next Amazon, do this. Pick one problem, sell to one type of customer, and do it in one unique way. When Jeff Bezos launched Amazon, he didn't sell everything to everybody. He sold books to young men who used the internet in the mid-90s who wanted to access books they couldn't get access to other way. And it was on that basic premise that he built his logistics background, his system, and scaled to become the world's biggest and most successful e-commerce store. Once you have a clear value proposition, make sure you make it easy for your customers to say yes. One of the typical mistakes founders make is they tailor their product or their solution to every customer's needs. Or the other alternative is they choose 7 different options you can choose from. They both create confusion and extend the sales cycle. Do this instead. Narrow your product offering to 3 options: entry, medium, premium. Small, medium, large. Silver, gold, platinum. Whatever you call it, take your features, spread them across 3 options, and make the middle option the best mix of features and cost. And what's going to happen? An overwhelming majority of your customers are going to choose the middle option because we tend to go focus on balance. I had one company I worked with, we took his single offer, we made it the middle option. We anchored it with a cheaper and a more premium option, doubled this price than the middle option immediately without changing anything about the product, simply by positioning it this way. Let me ask you, how many of you been in this following situation? You're having a chit-chat with somebody, you ask them this question. So what does your company do? And then they start talking, and they start talking, and they say all these words you don't understand, and they get more and more confused. And after about 3 minutes in your head, you're saying, I have no idea what these people are talking about. I've got to leave quickly. How many people have had this experience? How many people had this experience today? Well, guess what? That confusion that you've experienced is actually going on in the minds of your customers in any way that they engage with your product or service. On the website, the emails, the one-pagers, the pitch deck, everything. If you're not clearly identifying why that person should care about what you are selling, they're just going to tune out. So how do you do that effectively? Start with the problem you solve. Then offer the solution, and then give them something to do. And only then, talk about all the great features you have, all the logos that you've done business with, all the great testimonials, and the offer that you're making. I've got a company I work with called Enroll Consulting. They basically have a data analytics tool that targets financial services companies. So what does this look like? They say, hey, bank, you've got all of these different databases spread out across all of these different tools in your business, and you're actually missing out on the opportunity to make better business decisions. What we do is we offer you an easy-to-use dashboard that captures all this data, puts it in a form anybody can use, and you gave it access to various people, and they can make better, quicker decisions based on access to this data. And if you want to learn how we can help you introduce this to your company, click here, and let's set up a call. Problem, solution, call to action. Once you do that, please do one thing. Just one thing. Speak like a human being. Speak like a human. I don't know what happens with people's heads when they start writing marketing copy, but it's like they turn into these bots, and they start using all these expressions that people don't actually use in real life. We are going to help you integrate gamification. We're going to help you reduce churn. In fact, believe it or not, we are going to decarbonize your footprint. I don't want my footprint decarbonized. Who wants their footprint decarbonized? I would much rather want to save the environment, or keep loyal customers, or make it fun to participate. Your communication should be so clear and so simple that an intelligent 12-year-old should be able to understand it. Because guess what? The CFO that you're selling to, he's just a taller 12-year-old with budget authority. So, when you capture all of these different elements, you will have created the fundamental building blocks of a successful sales strategy. When you've done that, that's when you can start using AI. I like to think of AI as an acceleration tool, right? So you're on the open road, you put a jetpack on the back of your car, and you are screaming down the road. If that car is pointed at a dead end, you're going to smack into that wall a lot faster. So how do you actually use AI in a smart and effective way? Well, there's 3 things that AI does really well. The first thing it does is it helps you identify leads, all right? It goes through the process of scraping databases and websites and all this different stuff a lot faster than a human being can, right? And it puts into a form that you can actually use. And there's a lot of different great next-generation tools that do this. There's Seamless AI that basically discovers and validates contact information. There's LeadZen, which looks for buying signals. There's Alta, which is a next-generation tool that actually effectively creates like an AI SDR that screens inbound interest and books calls for you. So there's like stuff that you can do with AI that actually adds value. Once you know that company exists, you've got to decide whether they're the company that you want to speak to, right? And that's where AI is very effective, right? It's a great way to capture customer insights. Tools like Gong, Sixth Sense, Substrata, these are all tools that enable you to evaluate buying intent and look at the potential of a particular customer so that you're talking to somebody who really is engaged and wanting to learn more about your product or service. And finally, it helps you engage with those customers once you've identified them, right? So a great tool for AI is copywriting, right? Getting that final draft of your email, of your subject line, of anything that you're using to communicate just right. And by the way, I always write the first draft of whatever I'm writing myself, and then I use AI to fine-tune it. Why? Because it's critical that you as a founder do the thinking and then use AI to make it more efficient, not the other way around, because you're going to get dumb really fast. So, you've heard all this stuff so far, and I bet you that some of you are right now saying something like this: I get the sales fundamentals, I understand I should be using AI, but for God's sake, how do I integrate all this stuff into my life and my business? Who's thinking that right now, honestly? And I understand why. I mean, it's overwhelming, right? I mean, it's just literally overwhelming. It's like building a plane in the middle of the flight. So, the best way to express that, in my view, is in a comment that I noticed on LinkedIn not too long ago. You know, I mean, how many of these you see? 7 AI tools you cannot live without, right? There's like, you know, literally 17 of these posts every day. And underneath one of them was this quote. It says, I feel the non-expert user is already overwhelmed with such a big pool of AI tools, and it's leading to decision paralysis, right? So basically, you're not doing anything because you don't know what to do. And so, how do you get over that? Well, I like to use a tried and tested methodology, and it's called KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. So what is the KISS approach to AI acceleration? Start small. Choose one element of your sales and marketing processes. Maybe it's lead gen, maybe it's email automation, and just figure out how to make that work. And once you've got that fixed, then start expanding, all right? I personally had this incredible group of engagement data I was getting with my website and my emails and my newsletters, and I basically use an AI tool to capture all of that and put it into one single source of truth, which in my case is Pipedrive. Stay human-centric. No matter which tool that you're using, make sure there's an element of human evaluation in it. Just yesterday, I was having a conversation with somebody coming into the event today, and they were saying, like, you know, one of the biggest challenges with all these AI tools is that you actually need a human being to make sure they're not, you know, hallucinating, right? So having a human-centric element is critical to make sure that you're using it correctly. And finally, you know, there's a saying, garbage in, garbage out. Make sure that the quality of the data that is part of your AI tool is valid and useful, because that's how you're going to get quality use out of it. All right. So as I kind of come to the end of my presentation, I do want to capture a couple of key takeaways that you can take with you today. The first is basically, don't fall for the illusion. AI is not a silver bullet. It's not the answer to every problem in the world. It is a tool. It will accelerate your effectiveness, but only if you've got the basic foundational stuff right. Because since the dawn of time until the end of time, it's people who buy from people, and that's not going to change. So my call to action for you is to master the fundamentals of your sales process first before doing anything with AI, because if you get that right, that is fundamentally what will change the trajectory of your growth. What I've just described, those sales fundamentals, that's what I wrote a book about. And it's a book called The Launch Code, which basically captures all of the B2B sales fundamentals I've taught to founders around the world, built on 3 pillars: focus your offer message, structure your client acquisition, and scale your operations. It's full of frameworks, case studies, stories. You'll read about one company that started using the system, went from 6 customers to 52 customers, grew 400% revenue in 1 year, went from 1 market to 9 markets. You'll hear about a company called Ontavo, which went from founder-led sales to scaling to a level where they're now 10 million ARR, market determiner leader in marketing technology. You'll even hear about what the Queen of England had to say about a startup that I was mentoring. Interesting tidbit. If you're a founder who understands sales is important, but you're struggling with it, I think this book is going to be of tremendous value. I'm actually going to be selling and signing copies right there outside that door at 3:30 today. So for anybody who's interested in getting a dedicated copy, you can get that. For those of you who like to try before you buy, just scan this QR code and you'll get the first chapter of my book for free. And then you can decide whether or not you want to buy it on Amazon. It's available in paperback, an ebook, or in audiobook format. So, for those of you who do read the book, you're going to understand truly the fundamentals of sales and understand that it's people and not algorithms that close deals. Because here's the truth. We might not be able to agree on the impact of AI, but there's one thing I'm 100% certain. Never in the history of mankind has a client said yes to a deal because they said to themselves, this chatbot really understood my pain points. That's the illusion you need to get rid of. Thank you very much.